That was the original building built before the railroad got here. And when the rail line came in, it brought on it good timbers from the Pacific Northwest, Doug fir, and that's what those square beams are.
Then ammonia would be added to it, and then the ammonia would bind to the copper, okay, leaving the limestone behind, and it would be in liquid form, and it would be piped out of those large tanks into these tanks here. At which point, the ammonia would then be evaporated off, leaving behind copper in these tanks, and then the ammonia would go to a third tank, a third set of tanks, and be recondensed and back to liquid form. Steamboat, that would go along the inside passage to Tacoma, Washington, and that's where the smelter was. So that's a long journey over here.
All right. That's what white trim was coupled color scheme. So inside you see red wall.
So welcome to the sacking department. Wire it up onto this chute here. Open up the door, and then just a slow trickle of copper slurry will be coming down through here, and slowly start filling up this bag. And there'll be one man running back and forth, operating all these chutes. He'd throw it onto the conveyor belt there. That would bring it upstairs. He'd grab that sack, and then he would throw it out through that hole in the wall, down to a man who was standing on top of the train, and there he would stack all those sacks together to load up the train. The building wasn't kept much warmer than just above freezing, so it was anywhere from like 34, 35 degrees in here. That's Fahrenheit, sorry. The reason why it was kept so cold was it was just warm enough to keep the water moving, so it wouldn't freeze up, but it was cold enough to keep the men moving as well. If it was warm, the men could have time to sit down and not do their job for a moment. So by keeping it cold, the men had to work non-stop just to stay warm. There was one man. This mill was closed down in 1938. The last train left in November of '38. There wasn't much warning. People knew that it was going to leave at some point, but they didn't know a day or a time. So when the last train came in, blew the whistle, people grabbed their one bag and got on the train and left. Over on Self-Stocking Road, there were houses with tables set for dinner, ready to go. So stuff that was a little bit heavier, had a little more copper in it, would get caught by these slats and work their way across the table and go off the corner of the table there and go down the pipe with the orange tape on it. Those were middlings. Those would go over to the ammonia leaching plant. There's a drive shaft overhead, so it was all belt driven.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. And so a belt would come down to this flywheel, spinning that there. And when the 2 days that they had off each year was Christmas Day and the 4th of July. And on those days, everything would shut down. Each table was designed for a certain specific gravity of copper that came down to it. All these little diamonds you see in this trough, that's what controlled the water flow. So a pipe with water would come down to here, and it would fill up this trough here. And you can turn these little diamonds to open up water, let more flow through one spot, and close them back up. The way the rolls crusher works is you have two big wheels in there. They're spinning at different speeds. Okay, the material comes in through the top and it gets crushed by those wheels, and you can adjust how small or large the material is that's going to come out of it by adjusting this worm drive that would move those wheels closer or farther away from each other. So as that water is moving down through the jig, the lighter material, the limestone, it doesn't have as much time to settle as the copper does. The copper is heavy, it drops down fast, it goes through those screens that are at the bottom, whereas the limestone keeps up in the water and it gets slowly pushed down through the jig and separated.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous.
Up to that, well, the Little Red Building itself is actually just the caretaker's house. And there's another building next to it. And from there, the ore buckets would go into that house and split. Some buckets would go up to Jumbo, some would go up to Glacier Mine. And you go farther up. Actually, that's to what is piled right now. So there's Glacier Mine. Was from the Little Red House, you take a hard right, go up that ridge, and then over into the next bowl. That's what Glacier was. And then Bonanza Mine is up past this rock glacier here. 2 miles of tunnels up in these things. So all these mines are actually connected. All the main different axes. Everything they didn't start off. I'm sure some of you it's 16,100 linear feet. If you weren't paying attention, some would lose their heads, quite literally. Others would accidentally dump themselves to death. That bridge was built in 8 days in the middle of February. Mike Heaney was a motivator of men. He'd take a case of whiskey, bring it into camp, be like, men, this is waiting for you on the other side of the mountain. And he would put it over there, and they would just work hard. It's the largest park in the national park system. It's 13.2 million acres in size. That makes it 25% larger than Switzerland. More mountains as well. Compared to the largest park in the lower 48, which is Yellowstone, this park is 6 times larger, 16 times larger than Yosemite. However, visitor-wise, the Great Smokies, they receive 9 million visitors a year. It's the most heavily visited park in the park system. They have a highway that goes through it. Denali sees 1 million to 1.5 million visitors. This park sees anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 visitors. That's all.